Hey, my name is Shrina Chantel, and this is the place where we believe in living to bless and not impress, and where we talk all things faith, life, and entrepreneurship. So, in today's video, it's going to be kind of heart to heart, a story time where I share my experiences with racism as well as just adding to the conversation that we're having about inclusivity, racism, all of that. So I'm going to go right into it. A group of friends and I, we were in high school at the time. We were at a basketball game. Long story short, the team that we were supporting were predominantly black, and we were in the suburbs. I can't remember which one, to be honest, but long story short, after the game, my friends and I, we decided to go to McDonald's, and it was the only food chain in the area that we were in. So few people, it seemed, were all going to McDonald's, although we didn't all know each other. So we get to McDonald's. As soon as we get in, I remember seeing the cashier's face. Like, she looked shocked and scared. I don't know if it's because, we were all black. The basketballs, they're big, strong guys. Like, I don't know if she was intimidated. I really don't know. But she had a look of panic on her face. We ignored it. Ordered our food. My friends and I remember we sat down, we were eating our food, and then people were kind of dispersed throughout McDonald's. I would say maybe like 70% of people had ordered food. Next minute, we hear sirens going off, and then cops show up at the McDonald's. So we're just like, oh, in my mind, I'm thinking that's so extra. Like, why are you putting on sirens just to get McDonald's? Like, it's weird, But I'm like, whatever. Then the cops proceed to come into the McDonald's, and then this is the part that just shocked me. Like, I legit thought this couldn't be real. Like, I felt like I was getting punked. So the cops proceed to come into the McDonald's and start singling out all the black teens and telling them that they have to go. At this point, I'm just confused. Like, I don't understand why we have to go. A lot of people were like saying, we bought our food. Like, I don't get it. Give us an explanation. Like, a lot of people were kind of getting heated. Like, how are you going to enter a situation where we're eating food and you're telling us we have to leave, and you don't know any connection except the fact that everyone you pointed at is black. People are getting upset. People are like saying, why should I have to go? At this point, my friends and I are kind of like, okay, we don't even want to, we're feeling super uncomfortable. We're like, we don't even want to be here anymore. Like, we just want to go. So we leave. Everyone kind of clears out. Then one guy in particular, I don't know him personally, but he was kind of yelling at the officer, like just saying, explain, I don't get it. And he was swearing and everything. He was really frustrated. Now, what shocked me and made me uncomfortable was the cop that he was talking to. The cop then started, it was like tit for tat. They were both having like a screaming match. And for me, I was like, okay, granted, the guy, he's a teenager, he's a boy, but to have an officer screaming, yelling, swearing, like, it just made me so uncomfortable, because I'm like, it just showed his immaturity. So two people felt uncomfortable. They ran across the street, and then they got a ticket for jaywalking. And at this point, I was like, hey, this is just getting crazy. Then the bus came, and we were all slowly getting on the bus. I'm skipping out a few details, like someone asked to go to the bathroom. There's all these other things that aren't prevalent to like the main story. But when the bus came, we started lining up to get on the bus. One by one, we were going on the bus. And then the same immature officer screams, you better all hope you get on the bus, because whoever doesn't get on the bus is getting a big fat ticket for loitering. So as soon as he says that, everyone loses their mind and starts like shoving each other to get on the bus. Then two guys, including the one that was yelling with him earlier, they try to go through the back door, and the cop goes, no, you don't. And he grabs his bag and pulls him off the bus. His friend goes, like, let go of him. Anyway, the cops ended up taking both those guys, pushing them into the snow, taking out their taser and saying to calm down. Then we're all on the bus watching this, and then they bring both guys to go into the back of the police car. Now, this was happening really, really, really quickly, and I remember we were all in the back of the bus, and everyone was just like, what happened? Like, what just happened? And I remember we didn't all know each other, but now that we just all shared that common experience, we were just all like, that was not right. Like, what just happened? And one of the guys was like, we need to do something. Like, that was wrong. That was messed up. That was a new level of racism. We need to do something. And I remember someone else, I can't remember who it was, but they chimed in. They're like, oh yeah, we need to do something. And what are we going to do? Call the cops. I remember just as soon as he said that, everyone was kind of dumbfounded. Like, you're right. Who are we going to tell? And so that was my first experience with, injustice within police system. Now, mind you, this isn't to reflect the whole police system, but it's just to show how someone's bias and immaturity, when in the wrong hands, when in a position of authority, how it can go real bad, real fast, and how this is just a narrative and a common theme that Black people have experienced over and over. And that's where so much frustration and pain is boiling out of. In my situation, no one died. And I still remember how infuriated and taken advantage we all felt, So I can't even fathom, losing someone to someone that was just as immature as the person that I had encountered that day. And I just wanted to share this story, not to demonize all cops, but just to bring awareness, because this was in Montreal, Canada. And to be honest, this was something where I thought, this doesn't really happen here, quote unquote. Mind you, again, I was young. So I remember when I experienced that for the first time, it was just such a eye opener for me. And it caused me to pay attention whenever I did hear these stories happening. So I'm going to share stories with you guys, and then at the end we'll kind of talk about, what does this look like, practical takeaways, all of that. But another thing too was when I was living, so a lot of you guys know at this point that I lived in Australia for 3 years. So even before I left for Australia, I got a lot of warnings from family members like, hey, just so you know, like, apparently there's a reputation for racism, all these different things. I wasn't worried, to be honest. I was like, oh, it's fine. Plus, I was going to be, the program that I was a part of was affiliated with a church there. So I knew that to a certain extent, I was going to kind of be within a Christian bubble. And when I was there, though, I remember I took the city bus, and I remember there was a campaign that said stop racism, like the old school red stop sign, and it said stop racism in the bus, the city bus. So I remember I looked at this sign and I was like, oh, okay, this must be an issue for there to be a whole campaign about it in a public bus. Like, I felt like I was taking back in time to see such a sign. Like, it seemed so archaic watching it. But anyway, I'm not even going to get into the whole situation with Australia because that's a whole other video. One experience that I had, and I think this can help even brands and stuff like that, just understand better why it's important to have diversity and inclusion. So an example is, I remember I was so excited because my skin is really sensitive. I don't really wear makeup, foundation. I always react to it somehow. And I remember hearing all these reviews about this really great makeup brand. So I went into a store that's kind of like the equivalent of Sephora here. And I was so excited. I went to the section with the makeup that I knew had my shade and everything. And then I look, and I kid you not, it was like 7 shades of beige. So I remember just being like, okay. Like, it was like 7 shades of beige, like 7 shades of white. Like, even a light-skinned girl, a light-skinned Black girl couldn't get no love. Like, it was, I remember just being like, whoa. And now this had happened in, small little shops in our area, but I wasn't expecting this to happen in like the Sephora equivalent, So I was just like, what is this? So I remember I circled back around, and then I asked an employee, I was like, I'm looking for a shade in this brand. And she was like, oh, no problem, follow me. And I think part of me was just, maybe there was my shade, it was somewhere else in the store. And then another part of me was like, if there isn't my shade, I need someone else to know. Like, I want other people to be aware of this, because everyone's just going about their day and just acting like it's completely normal. And I just feel completely unseen or like uncared for in this moment. So I brought in the worker and she circled around. She's like, oh yeah, let's go. And then she looked, and you can tell like she was surprised. She looked at the line. She was like, yeah, I think these would be definitely too light for you. I'm so sorry about that, So that was her reaction. And part of me, I was hoping, just to kind of open her eyes and show her another woman's experience, a Black woman's experience. And, maybe when her boss goes, how did today go? She can share, it was awkward. A Black girl walked in and we had nothing for her. Like, just to kind of pop that bubble, and bring awareness. So that was my goal in doing that. And I wasn't done. So that was me trying to bring awareness on the ground level. Then when I got home, I went straight on that website, and I go on their website of this, company. And you know what the motto was? The motto, the slogan, the mission statement of the website was? Because I went on the website trying to find a number that I can call. And I go on their website and it says something like making every girl feel beautiful or making every woman feel valuable. And I was like, really? Okay. So I called them and I kept it really classy. Anyway, so I called them. I'm now on the phone with one of the representatives and she's like, hi, how can I help you today? And I was like, I noticed like a really, really big inconsistency with your website and I really wanted to make you guys aware. And she's like, oh, thank you. What's the inconsistency? And I'm like, your website says that your aim and your mission is to make every woman feel beautiful and valuable. And as an African American woman living here in Australia, I really want to tell you how it made me feel not to even have a shade that was anywhere close to my skin color. And she asked me for my name, and I told her my name is Sharina, and she was like, Sharina, thank you. She was like, thank you so much, because it's calls like this that allow us to see change in our stores. She's like, when I get a call like this, I can escalate it, and I can bring the situation and an awareness to it, because that's something that we've noticed, but it hasn't been an issue. No one's ever said that it bothered them. No one's ever complained. So we just see it as there's not a demand or a need for it. And so she was like, so thank you for this, because it's calls like this that make us change and make us adjust. So I really appreciate your call. And then anyway, we finished up our conversation. And for me, it just made me feel, okay, I feel like I did something about it. Sometimes it could be so frustrating feeling like I can't change everything. I can't change everyone. But it's like little things that can help move the needle forward, using your voice, saying something. So many of us, especially Black women, Black men, so many of us were so used to just swallowing it. You have no idea. It's like years of just no one listening, no one realizing. So people just swallow it. Racist comment, let me just swallow it because I don't want to fit the narrative of an angry Black man or an angry Black woman. So I'm just going to swallow it. So you have to understand, there are so many people on a daily basis that are just swallowing ignorance, swallowing stupid comments, swallowing all kinds of things, So right now what you're seeing is like a boiling point. It's beyond, it's an overflow of many different things. This very, very unfortunate and traumatic situation with George Floyd is it's just something that it was just too much. It just boiled it over to the top. It was just too much. It's been too much. But yeah, so that's really what you're seeing. I'm even struggling finding the words to really explain it. Yeah. Anyway, and this whole situation, the whole thing with the whole makeup and all of that was pre-Fenty. So that's why when Rihanna came out with Fenty, that's why you saw girls holding their shades and crying. It wasn't about makeup. it wasn't, so many people were like, kind of like, oh, what, we didn't expect this reaction. It wasn't about makeup. It was about being seen. It was about being heard. It was about someone saying, you have a place. You belong. I'm catering to you. That's a message that a lot of Black people do not experience. And so I'm grateful that the conversation is being had from many different angles: systematic injustice, racism in the police force, diversity among brands. I'm grateful that all of this is being elevated and having a front row seat right now. But what's really going to matter is the follow through. What's really going to matter is the quality conversations. What's really going to matter is everyone checking themselves. Because even with this whole, like, I mean, y'all seen Instagram. Right now, I feel like there's like the posting police, like who posted, who didn't. And like, I'm grateful that there is unity happening on social media, but you have to remember that outside pressure doesn't produce internal change. So we have to make sure that we're not just bullying people into posting, because posting isn't going to change the condition of your heart. It's a heart issue. It's an inside out job. So we need to all have a heart check. You know, for anyone listening who wants to have that heart check, it's asking yourself the hard questions. You know, it's having the conversation with your kids. So my brother is 7 years old and he's already experienced racism. I've already had those conversations with him where he's the only black kid in his class. And some of the things that a child say, I'm like, you don't just come out with that. Those things are taught. And sometimes people say, oh no, I didn't teach them that. But you have to realize that not having the conversation, not communicating, you know, where you as a family stand, opens a vacuum for them to take things on from what they see online, from movies, from other kids. So you have to make sure that you are having the conversation with your kids about, this is how we see people. All humans are equal. Like that's when you need to be proactive in having that conversation with your kids. Now, I'm not a mother, so I'm not telling you like how to raise your kid. I can't think of anything more annoying than a single person telling you how to raise your child. I'm just saying that having those conversations, even for someone who's a big sister, and I've had these hard talks with my little brother where I'm holding back tears from his experience. I'm saying like it's so important that we have those conversations with our kids and we don't just assume that they know. Another thing, there's so much. I was talking this with a friend. It's not about being treated differently. It's about being treated equally. You know, I feel like sometimes people, when they feel bad or they feel guilty, that they want to overcompensate, you know. Like one girl, she said she went to an event. It was kind of like a networking event, and she met with someone and they completely blew her. They were like, okay, and they cut the conversation short. And they just like kind of walked away. Now, was that race? Was it not? We don't know. You know what I mean? But now that all of this has happened, that girl scummered through her networking information and now contacted her. And she's like, hey, so you're a woman of color in this field, and I really want to shout you out. With like, so you have to understand, like, it's giving some people like whiplash. Like, whoa, like just the other day you gave me so much attitude, and now you want to praise me publicly. It's I get that people want to remedy the situation and they want to rectify it, but just make sure it's sincere, you know, and make sure that the motivation isn't to cover yourself. I say this all the time. This is the place where we live to bless and not impress, right? I say it all over my Instagram. You have nothing to prove. So don't post something just because I don't want people to think I'm racist, or I don't want people, like, it's okay. It's okay. It's better it comes from a genuine place than it comes from wanting to save face, because people can tell the difference, and it'll do more damage if you are spewing out words that your actions don't back up at all than if you just took the time to reflect on your actions and then share if you want to share about your journey later. You know what I mean? And that's not for everyone, but that's just for the person who you're in a panic and you're wreaking havoc and your Black friends are tired. Yeah. That's who that's for. I hope that didn't come off rude. I'm just trying to be honest and I'm trying to help some people. You do not need to process your feelings publicly, period. Let whoever thinks whatever. Remember, if you haven't yet, check my boundaries video, okay? Other people's responses are not your responsibility. You need to make sure that you're healthy, that you're good. If you need to sign off of social media to, prioritize your mental health, your relationship with God, having His voice be amplified in your mind and in your spirit more than everyone else's voices in pain, do that. If you need to do that, do that. Yeah, so I think that's it, guys. I can talk about this so long. Like I didn't talk about, random strangers touching my hair. I didn't talk about people trying to provoke you. I didn't talk about undercurrent racism where people they try to say things to slight you just to get a reaction, and it's the reaction that they love and thrive off of. I didn't talk about all of that. I know a lot of people have muted their voices at this time just because they want to learn and understand from a Black person's perspective. So if that's you or someone that you know, feel free to share this video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to be in the loop for all videos concerning faith, life, and entrepreneurship. And I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.